Hi, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining week 7 of the week 9 long grower processor training that we are doing with physicians. I have Dustin Lee, a pharmacist at the Apothecarium, and I've got Brandon Minnick from Calypso. He's going to be talking about the organization. He's going to be talking about Calypso's products and educating on that. But before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about the Apothecarium. The Apothecarium was founded in 2011 in San Francisco by Ryan Hudson. We aim to help patients find the right medication, educate them on medical marijuana so that their needs are met, and to help them understand how to use the medicine in a safe and effective manner. The Apothecarium is a full-service, award-winning marijuana dispensary committed to providing patients with quality medication in a warm and friendly environment. We have 3 locations currently in PA: Thorndale, Plymouth, and Lancaster. What sets us apart from other dispensaries is our medical, patient, and education focus. We pride ourselves on offering education and training to not only patients, but also our medical partners and community. So like I said, Brandon Minnick is going to be talking from Calypso, but we also have Dustin Lee, one of our very knowledgeable pharmacists who works both in Lancaster and Thorndale. He's going to be answering questions, partnering with Brandon at the end, just to offer that pharmacist medical knowledge that he does every day. So at the end, if you have any questions, utilize the Q&A or chat function. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to hand it over to Brandon.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you again for inviting me to be a part of this. Really excited just to get to share a little bit about our company, and really appreciate the partnership with Apothecarium and the work you guys are doing in the industry. Really working hard to set yourselves apart and being very successful with that. So let me get this set up, and I will share my screen here in a moment. Can we see that?
We can all see it.
All right. So again, my name is Brandon Minnick. I'm the sales director with Calypso Enterprises. We are located in Erie, Pennsylvania, which is up right on the lake. Very beautiful summers. The winters can be a little brutal at times with the lake effect snow. For us as a company, our story really begins at the beginning with our founder, Mr. Pat Black, and his adopted daughter, Sumi James Black. Mr. Black had a family member that had a medical condition that wasn't at the time approved as medical marijuana, as it wasn't legal in Pennsylvania at the time. That individual traveled outside of the state and had some really good success, with medical marijuana in correlation, with the regular medical treatments for his condition. From the success of that and really being an advocate of it after having seen it firsthand, that really got the gears turning for Mr. Black. We were fortunate that we were awarded one of the 13 phase 2 grower processor permits. And from there, things have just been traveling 100 miles an hour for all of us. We have a brand new build, 52,000 square foot facility right here in Erie, Pennsylvania. We're actually located in one of the poorest zip codes in the United States, and that was by design. We wanted to be in a part of our community that could really benefit the most from having good paying, sustainable jobs right in their neighborhood. And so we're very proud to have been able to hire a lot of people that live right in the direct area where we're located at. We were just recently approved and moved into our expansion of our building, which it doubled our cultivation facility. So we're now in over 100,000 square foot building, and excited for all the new and exciting things that'll be coming up here in the very near future. A big part of our company that we care about with us every day is our Calypso Cares program. It was not only part of how we do our community outreach, but really how we operate as a company, looking to put people first. Part of the goods that we do is we do donate 10% of our net profits towards established charities. We adopted a highway around our facility. We wanted to keep the area in our neighborhood clean. We also try to be conscious of the packaging that we use. We want to use less packaging, recyclable items, and just try to be more sustainable. And also 5% of our research, of our profits do go to research as well for medical marijuana. These are a couple of events that we did pre-COVID when we get outdoors and I get to be a part of the community with it. You can see where we're picking up, around the facility, as well as a couple of events that we held for back to school where they give out backpacks and haircuts to some of the inner city children that live right in our area. And it was really nice. They would let us fill backpacks, but they would not let me give any haircuts, but that was probably a good thing for the kids. Something we're very excited to roll out, again, pre-COVID was our Calypso recycling program. With this, we had Calypso branded receptacles inside the dispensaries, and we would have it as an opportunity for patients to be able to recycle their medical marijuana packaging. Didn't have to be Calypso products, it could be any ones. We just want to try to minimize the footprint from the landfill. So we would bring these items back, we've cleaned them, sterilize them, and then put them into the proper recycling streams. We always try to hold ourselves to a very high accord, so we do keep track of our community scorecard with it. We do have a focus on preferred vendor program to support minority-owned, women-owned, and veteran-owned businesses, and we've been proud that we've been able to put a lot of money into the direction for them. Again, we talk about the environmental. We have 100% recyclable tin cans for our flour that we use. We'll touch on that in a little bit for a couple of the reasons why we use that. But we also have glass recycling on site. Our municipalities no longer allow that at curbside, so this gives the employees an opportunity to bring in their personal belongings from home and get those recycled. And we worked with the Department of Health to be able to have a compost on site. So after they go through a harvest in a room, you're left with these massive root balls that are, can weigh 15, 20 pounds of dirt and roots. Typically, those would end up in a dumpster and then into a landfill. We actually take the time to compost those on site with this industrial grinder and spread the product out around the outside of our grounds. So that's been really nice, again, just trying to minimize our footprint. And during COVID, we also worked with our extraction team, where they were able to produce a lot of hand sanitizer that we distributed throughout the community, as well as supporting local charities with cash and time donations. Holiday times are always popular as well for the employees, and they're excited to be able to help out communities such as the Anna Shelter, some different food pantries, and the SafeNet Angel Tree. These are some of the activities post-COVID, or while we were in the middle of COVID, we're still finding ways to get out into the community while being creative and just approaching a little bit differently. We are a pure PA company, so we are not vertically integrated. We're not multi-state at this point with it. So we truly are a startup in every sense of the word. And after having our first year under our belt of being able to generate revenue, we're really starting to put some of those dollars to work with it. We've recently donated over $70,000 to the Crime Victim Center to help fund a sexual assault resource center right here in Erie. Now I'm going to go into some of our products. We'll talk about the strains. We'll look at the different forms that we currently offer, and something important about kind of how we classify our items as well. So this is the list of our current strains that we have right now. And when we sat down and we decided how we wanted to market our products and really distinguish them, we have the benefit of being in a very heavily regulated market in Pennsylvania. So with us having the benefits of all the lab testing, we really get a look at what these plants and materials are made out of as far as looking at the terpenes with it. So we look at the lab reports and we look at the terpene content of them, and we classify our products into one of three categories. Chill, which is going to be your more calm and relaxed feeling. Charge is going to be your more energetic, uplifted feeling. And then cruise, which is going to be kind of in that middle. So looking at all of our products, they're going to have varying degrees as far as for how up, they're going to tend to get you, or how calm and relaxing they'll also take you to. And then you'll see the ones in the middle as well. So something we continue to hear a lot about is terpenes. And what are terpenes? They're naturally occurring aromatic volatile hydrocarbons, and they're found in plants, animals, fungi, insects. We know there's over 50,000 different terpenes out there in the world, and over 120 in cannabis. And the terpenes are really going to be the driver of the medicinal effects for you, where they're going to act as pain alleviation, anti-inflammatory, antifungal. They also help reduce the risk of some diseases. So looking back at our products in particular, this is how our products all fall in line and we classify them by. One of the things I like to point out on here is our Sour Diesel strain. Sour Diesel is a very well-known sativa, and is typically known for that big uplifting charge, that big euphoric feeling from it. Our Sour Diesel is a sativa. We are not saying that it is not. It grows like a sativa. It looks like a sativa. The structure of the products, the flower is 100% sativa. But we were surprised when we got our lab results back that myrcene was the top terpene in it, and it was the dominant terpene in it. And after hearing patient feedback and employees being able to try it as well, we felt that it is the right category to put it into our chill line, because it really does give you that more calming, relaxed effect. And we'll continue to classify our strains into that chill, cruise, or charge based on the lab results going forward. So when we talk about the terpenes and which ones are more calming and relaxing, for the ones that are going to fall into our chill category, you're going to see like myrcene, lanolin, and caryophyllene as being your primary terpenes that'll be featured. There's also a handful of other terpenes that will also come across that are also going to have that calming effect. On the opposite end of the spectrum, on the charged side, limonene is a major one that is prominent in a lot of different cannabis strains, and that's again help with being focused, uplifted, energetic, and happy. You also see alpha pinene, beta pinene as featured terpenes that are going to have that similar effect to it. And then on our cruise line, it's going to be a crossover where you're going to see the uplifting and the calming terpenes that really gives that happy balance that a lot of patients seem to really enjoy. One of our most popular items is our premium flower. Our premium flower is going to come in 3.5 gram containers, and these are all going to be hand trimmed, and these are going to be our larger buds. So after they do a harvest and they cure the product, they sort the buds based on the size of it. So the larger flower will go into the A, B category, and then the smaller ones will go into our C and D category. The larger ones get hand trimmed, and the smaller ones are going to be machine trimmed, and those will be packaged in a 7 gram container. So our small flower will actually come into a 7 gram, where our premium is our 3.5, and the difference is hand trim versus being machine trimmed. Small flower allows a little bit more affordable option for the patients, but it's still going to be coming from the same plant and be the same high quality. We talked a little bit about the recyclability of our flower packaging, and we use the N2 cans, it's called. We use them for a couple of reasons. One, because they are recyclable, but the second is because of the system and how it works to keep the flower fresh. So after the cans are weighed, they go down an assembly line where they're dosed with nitrogen. The nitrogen displaces the oxygen inside of the can, and then the cans are immediately sealed. So this allows the patient, when they open it at their home, for the product to be as fresh as when it's leaving our facility. So you can see where it has the lid seal on it, where they actually will pop that open. And then this is the final product with the labels applied to it as well. For our cartridges, we use C-cell cartridges because they have the lowest failure rate in the industry. They are a premium brand, and we feel, with having premium products, that they need to be in devices that will deliver a consistent experience. One of our most popular products is our liquid live resin cartridges. Liquid live resin is extracted using non-toxic hydrocarbon extraction methods. So this garners the full spectrum cannabinoids and the terpenes. All of these are going to be 100% medical marijuana, where there's never going to be any adders or fillers to any of our products with that. Liquid live resin is often told that it has a more flavor profile reminiscent to the flower, so typically more in line. So a lot of patients will gravitate towards those products. Our other current form of extraction is our CO2. Both our CO2 and our liquid live resin are going to be full spectrum of cannabinoids and terpenes. And again, our CO2 is going to be 100% medical marijuana, and there is no adder or filler to it. One of the areas where I feel that Calypso is unique is our extraction methods on both the liquid live resin and the CO2. We operate with subcritical extraction. So in the extraction process, basically you're applying heat and pressure to the flower, and then that's how you get your oil out of it. There's two types of extraction. There's subcritical and there's supercritical. In supercritical extraction, it's higher temperatures, higher pressure. Benefit of that is that you get more oil out of the flower because you're basically pressing it and heating it at a higher degree in pressure. One of the potential negatives with that is that you can pull through undesirables. You can pull through fats and lipids and things from the plant that you may not necessarily want in that final product. We go subcritical using lower pressure, lower temperatures, and we feel we just get a more pure product out of it that way. In the extraction process on the CO2 side, they do two different runs on the flower. They do a terpene run, and they also do a THC run. So these come off at different heats and pressure. So they'll first run the terpenes and they'll collect those. Then they'll do the THC run and they'll collect that THC oil. After that's completed, that is when they reintroduce the terpenes to the THC oil, and that's how you get your strain-specific cartridges. So anything like an Afghani or a Donny Burger or Tahoe OG, one of our popular strains, if it's in a CO2 cartridge, it's going to start with that base CO2 THC oil. Terpenes are added back to it. you end up with more THC oil in this process than you do with terpenes. So you're always left with excess THC oil. We worked with the Department of Health to develop our flavored cartridges. So with our flavored cartridges, it's our only product that is not 100% medical marijuana. We feel like transparency is very important. We want to make sure the patients are aware of what they're consuming for them. So we use triple distilled food grade terpenes, and that allows us to have familiar flavors then for the patients to be able to get the relief that they're looking for. So that allows us, we have chocolate raspberry, blueberry, raspberry lemonade. We have sweet caramel. So we've got some nice ones that are good for people that want the medicinal benefits, may not necessarily like the taste of traditional cannabis strains. We also feature tinctures, which are taken sublingually, and we do those in a variety of strengths as well. And that's also going to be based with the THC oil from the CO2, and then with the coconut oil is used as the help with the delivery system for it. Concentrates are a very popular category, probably fall in line second to third between the flower with it, but the concentrate patients are huge components and proponents of concentrates. And all of our concentrates right now come from fresh frozen flower and are called live concentrates. One of the forms that's out there is called sugar. What sugar is it is nearly pure THCA crystals, and they toss it in strain-specific terpenes. So it's very easy to handle for the patients to be able to use for consumption. Sauce is another form. Sauce is going to be nearly pure THCA crystals, and then it's going to be heavier on the terpenes. So this is going to be a very terpene-rich product, where it is kind of the diamonds in sauce some other companies will advertise it as. And then we also have butter. Butter is going to be a smooth, creamy consistency, very similar to like a peanut butter that you would find at your house with it. This captures the full spectrum of the cannabinoids and the terpenes, and it has it in a nice, rich product that's easy to deliver. And we also do limited runs of live diamonds. Live diamonds are going to be pretty much absence of all terpenes, and they're larger THCA crystals. So this is going to be very high on the THCA side. And again, it's not going to have a lot of the terpenes into it, but more of a really high THC. We've really looked to focus our website on being a tool for not only dispensaries and patients, but we want to be able people to be able to come and use that to, not only strictly for Calypso products, but also just for general knowledge within the industry. So on there, we have some certain things built in, like a strain menu builder, where patients can go on there and they can select the time of day that they're looking to use medical marijuana. They can look at the effects that they're looking to get out of it, and also the ailments that they're looking to alleviate. So when they put this into our online menu, it's going to give them a couple of different options of products that should work for what they're looking to get. And in this industry, social media is very popular, and you see patients posting all kinds of reviews and feedbacks, good, bad, anywhere in between. They are very vocal and love to share it, and they're very passionate about the industry. And that's one of the biggest things you'll see is that the people that are part of this program are passionate about it and really want it to be successful. And that's shared by all of the employees at Calypso and with the Apothecarium. And they've had the opportunity to make some really strong relationships out there with that same goal of education and really helping to drive this program to new heights and success. And that's the end of my presentation.
All right, thank you so much. Do we, looks like we already have a question. Dr. Jen Minkovich asks, regarding what you discovered about your sour diesel strain genetics, you mentioned that sour diesel is classified as a sativa, but upon tearing was found to be high in myrcene, and the effect was found to be relaxing. This clarifies a myth, which is the thought that the designation of sativa or indica is going to determine the effect of the product. This is erroneous, of course. As you discovered, the designations of sativa or indica refer to the morphology or phenotype of the plant, and the phenotype of the plant does not translate to terpene content or effect on the patient. Thank you for sharing that. So I guess from Dr. Jen, that's more of a comment than a question. I definitely agree with that. That was very interesting to, when you talked about sour diesel, I was taking notes and I did star that. So Brandon and Dustin, if we can kind of get your, I'm curious to hear what Dustin thinks about that as well regarding the sour diesel.
Sure. Yeah. So I think, yeah, it's definitely it's important that that example really highlights the importance of a pharmacy just being on board, because like the doctor mentioned, the sativa indica classification, that is really just describing the physical characteristics of the plant. We know sativas are long and skinny and indicas are short and wide. So really those terms are meant for botanists. And I think somewhere along the way that we just kind of got used to using those terms as sativa, stimulate, indica in the couch. And generally speaking, I'd say 60% of the time that's correct, but 40% of it being incorrect, that's a wide range for, medication errors right there. So yeah, I think, anytime a patient comes into the office as a new start, I always encourage them to understand that the words sativa and indica, the way they're using them is really dynamic and they can change over time. So, and that's not the first case of strain's done that. There are many strains that are sativa classified, but they have lots of linalool, lots of myrcene, lots of bisabolol. And, to make things complicated, a lot of patients burn cannabis, and we try to encourage them not to do that because, one, it's not recommended by the DOH. Technically, everything should be vaporized. And essentially, it's the analogy I like to use that, when you burn cannabis, it's essentially you're burning your food and you're trying to consume it. You'll get full off the burnt food, but it's just not something efficient. And they've actually done studies at this concept at Johns Hopkins University. It was a relatively small study, but they studied patients that vaporized cannabis to burning it. And they essentially noticed that patients that vaporized it got twice the dose than patients that burned it. So again, we always try to pick our battles. And, honestly, I don't like inhaling cannabis for long periods of time because we don't know the safety profile of that. But even if they were going to do that, they're trying to steer them in a direction that's more efficient. It just highlights the importance of a pharmacy team.
Yeah, that's great. And that's, one of the resources we also have on our website is a patient journal. It's Calypso branded on the outside, but on the inside, and the one that you can print online, is basically is a tool for patients to be able to help track and find that journey of what works for them. So they can put in any strain, any product that they're using. They highlight the terpenes that are on there, the dominant ones. They can mark on their dosage with it as well and kind of keep that live journal of what the effects are with that. Because again, it can be a journey for a lot of individuals. And it's always interesting when my parents' friends are coming and asking me questions, and you feel like you're in the secret clubs. They feel comfortable now having these conversations, and they know that just the knowledge and the exposure that we've had in this industry we can be a resource for them, and that's something that I really appreciate. And it's nice being able to have those conversations and help educate some of these people that have been around in your lives that you may not have known. We're using this to help with their ailments.
You just check and see. We don't have any more questions right now, but Dustin, did you have any comments regarding the presentation?
Yeah, I had a few things I just wanted to mention. One, honestly, I thought overall very, very good presentation. Transparency is key. I definitely agree with that. And, that's what the patients are paying to be in the program for. One thing is that the East Coast of the United States, we have a severe fentanyl issue. It's located on the East Coast for some reason, but numerous patients have come into my office mentioning their cannabis was laced with fentanyl. It's very easy to do that because cannabis is such a benign medicine to a lot of people. They think it's, safe. It's safe. It's something they can use. It's safe. It's something they can trust. They're familiar with it. But, cannabis isn't, it's not out of that realm of possibility of causing harm. It's a medicine and it has to be treated like a medicine. And just getting cannabis from a dispensary, it doesn't even have to be from the Apothecarium, ensures patients that, the medicine is what it is. And there's no other elements in there. With the cartridges that was presented, I think a key point was that, 100% of that is cannabis. And, there was mention of food grade terpenes, which is fine. There was a big issue with vaping, and, there still is. There's a stigmatism to it. And a lot of that stems back to how the carts were being made before the program was started, because people have enough information in their head to be dangerous. They can figure out things and they can do it themselves because YouTube tells them how to do it. But a lot of these medicines, especially in a cart, they need to be operated in a lab under stable conditions. Just because a patient can, extract the medicine doesn't make them a chemist and doesn't make them, incorporate all the safety parameters that go into it. Hence the reason why a lot of the carts back, in 2015, they were being laced with vitamin E, which is basically a diluent to dilute the medicine to basically make more of it. Because vitamin E it's basically harmless. You get it in food, it's a vitamin, but people didn't understand that when you inhale vitamin E, it actually builds up in your alveoli sacs in your air, and it can cause respiratory failure. Hence the reason why people were dying. And that's what causes the stigmatism with cannabis, is because, it was being incorporated into other medicines, which isn't accurate. And, with these dispensaries, Calypso being one, they ensure that, that's not happening here. Everything is 100% authentic. There's testing, the medicine doesn't even come to my office unless it's passed those tests. So again, I think it's just the reassurance that we can provide patients, I think, is a really good thing that we can establish the trust with them. Second, I think, if I'm allowed to kind of touch on the screening process for patients that are candidates, not everyone's a candidate for medical cannabis. A good portion is. I think a lot of patients that are on opioids, a safe alternative would be cannabis. But just ensuring that their medications are stable. We don't really want to start a patient on a new medicine if they're not stable on any other medicines, especially mental health medicines like SSRIs, or especially first generation antipsychotics. I had a patient the other day in my office who was just started on an antipsychotic, and it was like her second week. We know from testing on those package inserts, it takes about 3 months for them to be stable on those medicines. So I just think, doing a better job and just screening patients to make sure they're stable on their medicines, before they get on cannabis, because, once they're approved for the medicine, they're going to get the medicine. And, if we're starting multiple variables, we don't really know what's really consistent with the results. So that's kind of like the main thing I wanted to touch upon. There's tons of things we can talk about with screening, but I don't want to, hold up the whole presentation.
That was all good. We still have time, but if you want to cut it short, that's fine. I'm interested in hearing what you're having to say. Brandon, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Dustin did a great job, with explaining a lot of that stuff, and having the pharmaceutical background. I mean, I think that offers just a whole nother layer of validity to, what we're doing and the products out there, and just really stressing, that it is a very regulated market, as it should be. We joke about our facility being as clean as a hospital, because essentially that's what our goal is. It truly is. Our labs are labs. They're in their scrubs and hairnets and lab coats, and take every procedure. We really treat it more like a food production facility versus what a lot of people would probably picture, cannabis cultivation looking like.
I did have one question. So that just the flavored cartridges are the only thing that have food grade terpenes. Everything else is
correct.
Clean?
Everything else is 100% cannabis.
Even the concentrates, there's no CRM?
No CRM or anything else added to them.
That's awesome. Like Dustin said before, the transparency, I think is pretty huge. That's something that kind of struck me of the presentation. It's very upfront.
Well, good. Yeah. And that's what our goal is to be. And again, everyone comes in with a lot of preconceived notions, especially the new patients. We just celebrated 5 years of medical marijuana in Pennsylvania, which is a huge milestone to it. And there's a lot of talks around recreation and a lot of other avenues with it. But I feel with the regulations they put in place on the medical side, they really did put in good restraints for that, so that the grower processors are held accountable as we should be. The dispensaries are held accountable, making sure they have a pharmacist there to be able to actually treat this as the medical program that it is, and be able to help these patients, get the care and that they're looking for. So I mean, that's a hats off to everyone that's involved in this.
Congratulations. So we're gonna wrap it up. We got a chat. Bear with me, guys. Like I said, this is my first time on Zoom. Okay, Dr. Cindy, agree wholeheartedly with patient screening and approving patients who are stable on their meds. The issue I face is patients using black market cannabis who are starting and stopping psych meds. I would rather they have access to safe and consistent cannabis and continue to risk their health and getting it elsewhere. I started out as a bud tender, and Dr. Cindy, that this is like Dustin said, I've seen that a lot. Dustin, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I think, having them have access to it is, it's equally important. And, I think, when I took this job, it is picking battles. It is. And mental health is such an overlooked aspect in the field. And, just trying to get the screening process improved overall. But I do recognize the flaws in it. And, the starting and stopping of medications is tough. And a lot of times, my job as a pharmacist is almost to tell them not to stop taking their medicines because they use cannabis and they feel great. And then they just want to stop their medicines. And, we know, just from the package insert of all the meds that they're on, especially, the antidepressant medications, they can't just suddenly stop them. They need to be tapered. So it's just it's a battle we have to kind of figure out. And I think it's definitely improving. But just getting patients to make sure that, they understand the importance of their medicines and the time it takes for them to work. As a pharmacist, I think that's the biggest issue with patients is that they want to take a medicine and feel great immediately. And then, trying to get them to understand expectations and how the medicines work and how more cannabis doesn't mean better results. Like higher THC is completely irrelevant. It's like, I try to compare it to, when if a patient's eating, again, food, it's like, you just don't go for food that has the highest sugar. It doesn't make sense. And, the THC percentage is, like Brandon was saying, it's one medicine out of a basket of medicines. And if that's high, the other medicines are low. So we want a well-balanced profile to kind of get the best results. Yeah. And it's just, it's a battle. I think, new issues arise, but I think just, trying to encourage the screening process. I hesitate with patients that have history of schizophrenia. If we should really have them as a candidate for cannabis. I had a couple patients that had a history of schizophrenia. And I hesitate a little bit because I don't know how stable they are on their medicines. And I think the doctors that use the notes tab it's very beneficial when they write the notes and what they do in their observations, because the pharmacy team really does use that and utilize that into their notes. And we try to, document as much as possible. And, just kind of give, like the doctor was mentioning, is just kind of give them access to the medicine. And I think Pennsylvania does a really good job of doing that. Patients do have access to the medicine and, more importantly, they have access to us, and trying to get them to utilize us and trying to get them to understand that, the medicine is one part of it, but knowing how to use it is another part. This is a medicine where they have years experience using and it worked for them, but they don't understand that like too much of the medicine can take away certain things that they're not realizing. And, once they stop using it, then they kind of go back to, the original symptoms that were happening. And that's not the goal. I think of cannabis as kind of like a train to get you to point A to point B. And eventually we can find ways to get you there without the train. But, like I mentioned, every battle, it's different every day. But yeah, so sorry to rant.
Oh, thank you, Dustin. Brandon, I do have two questions for you. Number one, are we able to get a copy of all the slides you gave us, just so I can forward those on to all
Absolutely.
the physicians?
Yep,
Second of all, on a personal note, since I'm in outreach with Michelle, I just wanted to know, I wanted to kind of circle back to the recycling thing. Is that for all of your patients? Is that for the community?
So under our umbrella of companies that Mr. Pat Black owns, he also has a glass recycling company as well. And so around us locally, we have that. We had started to expand that out to different dispensaries, primarily that we were doing the deliveries for, just because it was easier then to bring back. For some of the locations out east, it gets a little bit difficult because we use third-party transport. So, we're paying for that trip going one way and they're not coming back to our facility. So it is something we're looking to expand upon because, again, it was very popular, with the patients and just for the community with it. So we would like to bring that back here as things calm down and get back to normal. But yeah, we're looking forward to expanding it.
It's really exciting. All the stuff you're doing in the community is really exciting.
Thank you.
Let me just double down. I don't think we have any more questions. So I'm going to get like a closing thought from Brandon and from you, Dustin, and then we'll kind of wrap it up.
Yeah, I can just say, personally, one of the biggest things that I continue to have pride in and just really makes me feel good about the work that we're all doing in this space is, when you get those opportunities where you talk to the patients and you hear their stories and their journey, hearing from, being able to sleep and just what a train wreck that can cause in the lives, really being able to get back to your core of human nature and getting a good night's sleep really helps solve a lot of the issues that people were having, and people be able to find a path to use that through medical marijuana and just feeling like they have their life back again, to be able to help alleviate a lot of those symptoms that they felt was really holding them back. I just had a call with a lady just this last week. She called in just to thank us for all the work that we were doing and for some of the products that she's found to be extremely beneficial for her. And that's someone you could just talk to on the phone all day long, just because you really see the impact of all the days in, days out that all of our teams are doing. And that's always a powerful message to hear. And for me, that's all the proof that I need to know that we're in a good space with this program.
That's good to hear. And Dustin, a closing thought from you?
Yeah, I guess my closing thoughts, I guess I was just kind of more focused on the screening process of patients. And I think just documenting the conversations we have with patients is really important. Having them have access is, it's really good because, we know the medicine is what it is. But, honestly, we try to encourage patients to, if they're going to use one medicine, to kind of stick with it until they add on another one. But just encouraging that documentation so we're covered too, I think is equally important because even if patients can delay therapy a little bit till they can be stable on meds, it's great. But if they don't want to, just documenting that we had that conversation and they really aren't willing to kind of comply with the recommendation. It's just important to kind of document, because I know we do that at the dispensary. We try to document as much as possible because we don't really have templates. We kind of have to figure out a way that works best and just to kind of encourage safety. But I think any physician that wants to, conversate or have any type of discussion on a patient that's, for cannabis, I'd be more than happy to, have that conversation. There's tons of pharmacists at the dispensary that would be more than willing to talk to any physician about a conversation or just answer any questions along the way that, patients or physicians or any type of medical team might have, because I know they're out there. And sometimes it's just not clear on who to ask and how to get those questions across.
All right, thank you. Brandon, I'm really impressed with what Calypso is doing in the community. Thank you for sharing the information on the products, on the company. Like I said, all of the slides will be available. Dustin, also thank you to you for sharing your medical expertise. Once again, physicians, he is part of the Apothecarium as our pharmacist team, servicing several dispensaries. And if you have any questions, just shoot Michelle an email, shoot me an email. We can get you in contact with him or the pharmacy team. Once again, thank you to Calypso. Thank you to Dustin from the pharmacy team. And we'll see you next week.
And I do see that Dr. Jen is asking Dustin a good way to get in contact with him. I'm going to,
Dustin, I don't want to speak for you, but would you mind giving out your contact email?
Yeah, so my email is D as in my first name, T as in Thomas, Lee, Lee, at apothecariumpa.com. So I can also put it in the chat. So as soon as I just figure out how to write that in there, I'll put it in the chat now. So
are you doing it, Dustin?
Yeah, I'm putting it right now.
Perfect. I can also try to figure out how to do that. And thank you, Brandon. I
got your back, Dr. Jen.
Thank you. All right, Dustin, I don't see your email for everyone to see.
Just popped up in the chat.
So I just put it there.
Oh, got it.
So it's dlee at apothecariumpa.com. So that's the best way to reach me. I try to answer all my emails within the same day that I'm in office. So normally a 24-hour turnaround time is what I shoot for, depending on the workload. I try to get back to as many people as I can.
Just making sure we don't have any more. Dr. Jen says thank you.
Of course.
I don't believe there are any more questions, so we're probably going to wrap it up. Brandon, Dustin, thank you so much. Join us next week, but thank you so much for Calypso. Learned a lot. Dustin, thank you for your input.
Thank you, guys.
All right, have a great night, guys.
You too.